So happy to do this again for my great friend, Peter Boyle. He took me under his wing. If he wasn't, he was so kind to me on day one of Everybody Loves Raymond. I know I've told this story, but for the people who are here for the first time, I was a scared little boy, you know, it was day one, we were rehearsing. I didn't know anything, and there was the great actor, Peter Boyle, and he scared me. I'm gonna be honest, he scared me. When, you know, he was just big and imposing, and I didn't know what he was really like. And I was just walking by him in the set, and I thought I was blowing it. I thought, I'm horrible. And he just stopped me, and he put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, unsolicited, didn't even say hello, just said, it's just like water, just let it flow. And then he walked away, and I didn't know what the hell it meant. But the gesture, no, that's what it was. He was kind to me, and here we are.
It's one of those diseases that it's like the second most common of those blood cancers, but yet we just don't get the props. We don't get the press. Not like myeloma's older brother, leukemia, or her older sister, lymphoma. No, no. Myeloma is treated like the red-headed Negro adopted stepchild.
And Loraine Boyle called. She said, Fred, you don't have to do a routine. Just come out and talk to the audience and say hello. And then my manager called, and he says, Loraine is right. You're working. You don't have to knock yourself out to a bit. Just come out, be charming, and welcome the audience. And I like my manager. I pay attention to what he says. He manages me in an apartment building on Sepulveda. And which is not as easy as it sounds.
Almost didn't do this show. Yeah, I almost didn't do it. It's not because I don't care about the cause, but sometimes I just like to donate. Because comedy is subjective, and I'm not for everybody. And I can't think of anything worse than bombing at a cancer benefit. Taking a risk out here.
It was terrifying. And she goes, oh, please, Rachel. And then she goes, did I ever tell you you look like Wonder Woman? And it worked for like a second. Like I got cocky, you know? Like how sad is it that I need this 6-year-old's compliment that much? I was going over it in my head. I'm like, Wonder Woman, like I could say it, you know?
No, it's really cool to be here. I just celebrated a birthday. I just turned 28 in June of 2010. And it's just been a great summer.
Very exciting backstage, sitting around with Fred Willard and Robert Klein. Woo! Real party back there. Actually, when I got backstage, it was just Fred alone, just sitting there in that suit. And I'm like, wow, this is lively. He's like, yep, I invited a lot of people.
I'll tell you the truth. The older I get around relatives, I'm afraid to take a nap. Lest I be buried prematurely. In fact, PJB, premature Jewish burial, is endemic in this country. You don't read about it too much. Where they're at the funeral and a hand comes through the dust and a rabbi gets a heart attack. And an old man comes, what are you doing burying me? I'm not dead yet, for Christ's sakes. No, it's got to, Pop, we got to go home. The kids have school. Pop, he's dead. I'm up. I got rhythm. I got music.
And I say this next thing as a card-carrying feminist, as a woman who chose to be single for a very long time. I genuinely feel that when women ask me, so how did you guys meet? It's less about a genuine personal inquiry for me, and it's more like they're digging for clues, like, where did you find a suitor?
Well, of course, it's, you know, every charity is special, and I do a bunch of them. But this one hits the closest to home because it's my great friend Peter Boyle, who lost his life to myeloma, and Loraine, you know, we have a relationship. And yeah, anything I can do to help, and in his memory, it's a special feeling, a special night for me. A lot of people think, you know, of the character, and he was the exact opposite. Probably the smartest guy I've ever met, yes. And also, like, he could talk politics with Patty Heaton and then dumb it down when I came in the room. You know what I mean? He made everybody feel comfortable, and he could converse with everybody. A man with a life like you couldn't believe. Like, he was a Christian monk brother that takes a vow of silence for 2 years. He did that, and then he came out of that, and a couple years later, John Lennon was the best man at his wedding. So he did everything. I'm looking to see all of them. Marc Maron and I started out together, and we have some history back in New York, so it'd be fun to see him again.
Because Peter was such a wonderful guy. We were a very close-knit group on Everybody Loves Raymond. And Peter's wife, Loraine, has worked so hard. Putting events together like this is very difficult. Wrangling people and getting them to be able to fit this into their schedule is very difficult. You're competing with a lot of other worthy charitable organizations, and Hollywood's a very generous town. But I think it's just a testament to how much everybody loved Peter, that everybody makes sure that they find time in their schedule to be here. I always love seeing Ray, and Fred Willard was also on Raymond. And then my son is here with me because he loves Hannibal Buress, so we're excited about that. Peter was so funny. He had such great stories about being in the film business in the 60s. And, you know, being friends with John Lennon, and he just has all this, like, crazy, great stuff. Young Frankenstein, you know, he used to chase our kids around the set as the monster, as the creature. And you know, you kind of have to pinch yourself and think, I used to watch Young Frankenstein, and now here's Peter Boyle chasing my kids around a set.
Peter was a wonderful man. And I have to say that this Multiple Myeloma Foundation is a standout fundraising charity because they're actually making progress. Mel Stottlemyre was a Yankee pitcher, Yankee pitching coach, Mets pitching coach, was diagnosed over 20 years ago. He's still alive. This gives money directly to the cutting edge, the people who are really attacking this and trying to find a cure for this form of cancer. Peter and I did many things together. One of his most important jobs was on a summer show I had for CBS in 1970 called Comedy Tonight. I replaced the late Glenn Campbell, sweet man, 8 shows in 1970, and Peter and Madeline Kahn were kind of my left and right hand in the sketches and all that. He was just a joy. He was smart and ethical, sweet. He actually spent 6 months in a seminary and realized that it wasn't for him. But he was a wonderful man, a good man, and very talented, you know. Had a wonderful career, 2 daughters, lovely wife who's active to keep his memory alive.
Well, cancer's bad, and if we can help cure it or treat it, that's good. Ray Romano is a friend, and he asked me if I would be part of this, and I've never been part of it before. So I was thrilled to come do it for the people and for the cancer. I'm going to talk about, you know, the end of the world. I'll probably talk about tea. I might do something about wires that I'm working on. I might do something about my mid-level celebrity status. There's a lot that I could draw from.
First of all, everybody loves Raymond. So we all love Ray, and Ray loved Peter. So It was, you know, they were working together for 9 years of the show. And so I think it's just great that he still does this. He missed 1 year when I think he was shooting vinyl, but otherwise. And he flew in this morning from New York where he's shooting a Scorsese film to do this. So that's, to me, amazing. Well, it goes towards research. It's the Peter Boyle Memorial Research Fund. So it's part of the IMF's research activities. And what they do is they give grants to students who are interested in researching myeloma and graduate students and things like that. So it's all working towards a cure.
Well, it's a bone marrow cancer, different than leukemia. It causes a lot of pain because it damages the bone. It has been increasing in the last 10 to 20 years, and so it's affecting a lot more young people in addition to older people. The key thing that we want to get across is if you diagnose it early with new therapies that you have, you can really have a fantastic outcome. If you wait too long and don't use the correct treatment, it's going to be a problem. You know, so we want to have awareness and we want to catch it early. Well, we are very worried about the impact of chemicals in the environment, and so right at the present time, it's a big, big issue. You know, which chemicals are involved? You know, is it things like weed killers or solvents? We know that with the 9/11 event in New York, with all of that chemical pollution, people were getting myeloma afterwards. And so we know it's related to toxic exposure. To try to understand the disease, we've started a project in Iceland where it's possible to study everyone in the whole country. So there are 340,000 people in Iceland, and the people over 40 who might get myeloma, there's 120,000 of them. And so it's possible to study all of them and see, well, who's getting myeloma and who's not getting myeloma.
Why are they getting myeloma?
And so in that kind of like an incubator, you can start to answer the questions. And also, if you can diagnose it early, we have these trials which we call cure trials. So if you jump in early with the correct combination, we're starting to cure people. And so we just finished a trial where we treated 90 patients, and 60% of them, the myeloma was wiped out completely right now.
Well, the Black Swan Research Initiative is actually the brainchild of Brian and I, sitting in a small restaurant in Pache in the Canyon. And what we did was to get all the experts in myeloma globally to get together and work together collaboratively. And so myeloma is a global disease, and so we really needed to get the myeloma community around the world to work together and share their knowledge and what type of research they're doing. And because of that, we've made great advances. And also we have to thank our pharmaceutical partners because they've come up with a lot of new drugs for multiple myeloma.
Anyway, and all the comedians, everyone who made this show so great, but especially to all of you who have supported us 11 years. Hard to believe it's been so long since Peter's gone, but this is keeping his memory alive for us, and hopefully we're going to get to that cure. Thank you.